I'm sure. All right. Yes, ma'am. All right, this is the poem Beastman. Beastman. Captured in the gritty 8mm aperture, the Beastman looks over his shoulder, so blurred by distance and movement that many see only a man in an ape suit, a prank on the flower children. The plane crawls frame by frame into the second tower, every station, every hour, impact gray smoke, then they fall like leaves, human beings in business suits, sensible skirts falling from hundreds of feet, real video footage, hour after hour, people falling. They chainsaw Bigfoot out of birch, redwood, an 8-foot carving off Route 299, looks like Barry White, 2 tons of furry get-it-on, smiling down at tourists who ham it up. But there are true believers, strapping cameras to trees, finding clues, kneeling in elk-smashed grass, plaster casting feet-related depressions, following his path. All the students in the cafeteria crane necks towards the floating televisions. Life on the West Coast goes and stop and go. My aunt listening to the busy signal. Where is Lana? Where is baby Lola? Where did they go when Manhattan turned gray? She watches the ghost willing out familiar faces. Standing on the ridge, he looks down on Willow Creek. Even through the trees, humanity pauses. Eggs and ham burn on stoves. People frozen in the only convenience store. Coffee cooling as it falls. A man-made pyroclastic flow opening on Broadway. If I were a beast man, I would turn, run into the ferns across the ridges into deep leafy valleys, far from any signal, believe in the woods, the mist in the air. I would be a beast man, unknowing that belief brings death, that a man in a desert can machine gun shatter a whole nation, that men can fall onto skyscrapers, the Pentagon, a field in Pennsylvania. I would bury myself so deep in coastal fog that I would never see the sky, scarred with vapor trails. I would believe in the beast man. The beast man hiding so deep in the woods we can't find him. Only a gritty glimmer passing into the forest where I will not stand, too shocked to speak in my pajama pants, not believing it is real, clear as day on the shimmering screen on that most blue perfect September. Thank you.
This is from a book I wrote a few years ago. It was a memoir of my childhood, and so it's true. Elvis, remember Elvis? He came into my life when I was 14. First time I'd ever been in love. Me and, many, many thousands of other girls, I'm sure. And he had all the fathers very, very worried, because we girls were so in love that we followed him everywhere and thought that we were his only one, of course. He was extremely popular and worried a lot of fathers and a lot of people. Ed Sullivan took him on his show one day, and they would only show him from the torso up because of the way he moved, you know. And my dad was especially worried because he was the principal of the elementary school in Roosevelt, Utah, where I grew up. And he was very worried because I could play by ear then, as I do now. Hopefully I do it a little better now, but I could still do it then. And so Elvis Presley was so popular that there were times when he was putting out a different song every week. And so it was really to my advantage because I could hear one of his songs and then I could sit down and play it at the piano within a few minutes. And so I was invited to a lot of parties where I would play Elvis songs and everybody would sing and this kind of thing. I was invited to parties by people that didn't really even know me because those other pianists had to wait till the sheet music came out, which was quite a while, and very often Elvis was on to a whole different song by the time it came out. So I really took advantage of this, and my father was very worried, and he said to my mother, that's all Diane plays at the piano anymore. And so he, being the principal of the elementary school, he ordered a couple of turntables through the elementary school and a bunch of records. And he brought them home and told me, now, I want you to listen to this stuff, Diane. This is good music. And so I did, because I liked all music. And so that summer, I listened avidly to all of the music from the musicals that were very popular then, South Pacific, Oklahoma, things by Victor Herbert, Irving Berlin, all of that music. And I played all of those songs and sang them. And when I went to parties, I still played Elvis, because that's what all my friends wanted to hear, and that's really what I wanted to play too. But anyway, toward the end of the summer, my dad and mother were sitting on the couch, and there was a record on called It's Only Make Believe, appropriate. So my dad said, now Diane, isn't this music much better than that Elvis Presley junk that you listen to? All that is a chant with a raunchy beat. And my mother added, yes, and there's no sexual innuendo to this music. And I knew what that meant at age 14. And I didn't miss a beat, because I was a bit of a rebel. And I said, I turned to walk into my bedroom, and I turned back and I sang, I'm just a guy who can say no. I'm in a terrible fix. I always say, come on, let's go, just when I ought to say nix. When a fella wants to kiss a gal, you know she ought to give his face a smack. But when a fella kisses me, I sort of kind of want to kiss him back. And then I turned and saw my parents, and my dad had a great big grin on his face, because if there was one thing that my father enjoyed most of all, it was a good argument. And then, but back to Elvis now. At the time that he was so popular, it's really strange, because the critics never had anything to say about his voice. They talked about his hair, the way it's hung in his eyes, and his sexy smile, and the reaction of all the girls, and things like that. But nowadays, critics are kind of giving Elvis a second look, because some of his stuff is still being heard today. A lot of it, in fact, is. And they realize what a good voice he had and how versatile he is, or he was. So he could write many, many kinds of music. He wrote a lot of ballads, which are songs that tell a story. He wrote a ton of gospel music, and that reflected his training, because the only training that Elvis ever really had was being raised in a black Baptist church. And so the time that Sam Phillips, that was his first producer, hired Elvis to sing his first song, he was avidly looking for what he said was a white kid who could sing like a Negro, okay? And so that's what he got in Elvis, and he did have that style because of the way he was raised. And then he wrote a lot of the songs that that my dad really hated. So I thought I would, for fun, put together a little medley of Elvis Presley music that I would like to play for you on that piano over there that I don't think ever gets played. And so a medley is a way to put a few songs together. So I wanted to do something that was versatile. So I'm going to start with a little waltz that is a ballad that Elvis did called Are You Lonesome Tonight? And then I'm going to play one of his gospel songs called Crying in the Chapel, and finish with one of them that my dad hated. We'll see if you know what it is. Hotel. Bye, Elvis.
The poem I have tonight is actually, I wrote it at one of Star's poetry walkabouts, following one of her prompts. And also, it kind of responds to a challenge for Cassandra that I had to write a poem that wasn't about abuse and wasn't about sex. So, she's not allowed to nag me about it anymore. Water songs. 1. Feet thump across slick, weather-beaten boards, arms windmilling at my sides. One moment I am anchored to the dock, hair a white blonde sail at my back, before my body collapses inward a stick straight line. I jump and, for just a second, find myself trapped by gravity beneath rippling brown water. My yellow life vest propels me to the surface, a buoyant straitjacket my grandmother folded me into, wrinkled fingers, quick and careful. 2. Once upon a time, Grandpa tipped me into the hull of his canoe. Wood grain pressed patterns into my knees. I peered over the side of the cherry red shell, fascinated. Broken waves spread wide behind us, vanishing. A beautiful mirror of geese, dark in a purple dusk sky. We stopped at the levee, dirt and rock rising above our heads. He explained how this lake had been formed, not by nature's whimsy, but by human will. 3. Arms shake, fingers squeeze tight to metal warmed under the weight of sun and skin. Toes tremble, fighting for purchase on the pebbled teal surface. Each step a breath forced from my lungs, self-inflicted death by degrees. I tip forward, diving into open sky, blue as the water is deep beneath me. Eternity compressed into seconds. Water is a glass mirror I shatter, and I sink until my toes touch the bottom, until the world recedes, a narrow, shimmering haze above my head. Eyes and lungs burn as I push off, cement tiled in paint that bubbles and peels in ragged white strips like sunburnt skin. I am a helium balloon rising up and up and up, seeking breath, summer sweet air scrubbed chlorine clean.
Thank you very much. Great job, guys. Our next 3 readers will be Kath, followed by Ron Jensen and Abby Newhouse.
I was having too much fun with this now. I forgot that I put my name down. I was like, oh, that's me then. Again, this is just my second time reading, and there's more people than last time, and I'm a bit scared. Anyway, I feel like, those of you who aren't familiar with English, I feel like I have to translate a couple of words just in case you think my childhood is really off course. So anyway, pub means bar, Coke means Coca-Cola, and crisps means potato chips. So it's called The English Girl, A Long Journey Till Now. I never felt unloved as a girl. I accepted my parents and in acceptance felt loved. My dad thought a good afternoon for me in summer was sitting outside the pub with Coke and crisps. When kids went for day trips, I went to the pub. When girls went shopping with mom for clothes, I went to the pub. But that was my norm, and as a girl, it was fun. My mom, on the other hand, thought a good afternoon for a kid in summer was to go to work or to learn how to study. Learn how to be a strong, independent feminist, break the glass ceiling, ignore the glass ceiling. What glass ceiling? I was 8. She never let me take a day off school because sickness is weakness and people die in bed. She did not come to my school plays, she did not see me fumble my lines. She never had time for school sports days, she never saw me lose that race. She never really noticed what I wore, but never told me I was fat or ugly either. She barely had a moment to stick my pictures on the fridge, let alone see what I took from it. She never watched what I ate, but nor did she notice how much I drank. When Mom left Dad for another man who drank less but worked more, Dad left me to drown his sorrows in beer and whiskey. Mom not only got a new man, she got a big promotion and forgot I existed for a few years. That is, until I failed all the exams I took at 18, except art. All that pub time my dad had trained me so well for was not quite as productive as studying after all. Why is Mom always right? Only then did she pay me enough attention to tell me I was a failure. At the age of 32, much to Mother's despair, instead of living in the UK, working in law and paying a mortgage, I chose to move to the Caribbean, work in scuba diving and fall in love. Since then, in her retirement, across the miles and through the power of Facebook, Mom has suddenly found time for me. Time to tell me motherly things like, I'm a disappointment, irresponsible, living in a hut, seeing all the wrong men and generally too far from her. Funny, I've never had a sleepless night on that last point. And yet, despite her, or because of her, I've not yet decided which, I am sometimes strong, I am sometimes a feminist, sometimes I am the incredible woman she brought me up to be. I do expect sexual equality to be the norm. I know nothing of a glass ceiling. I have no body shame. I'm rarely sick. And now I am in Utah. Pubs are not a part of my normal life, and I barely drink either. From 5,000 miles away, I try to love myself as a truly independent woman. For Mom's lessons, I am grateful. I can now almost accept her. I might even love her, even through tears of bitter anger and resentment. I try to remind myself every time we speak on Skype, because I'm not yet brave enough or stupid enough to give her my cell number, that I am loved. And in the words of Maya Angelou, a poet my mother introduced me to, phenomenal woman, that's me.
Because it's brought everything around this house. He discovered every hole occupied by a mouse. Because it's brought everything around his yard. Both things that were soft and things that were hard. Because it's brought everything around his lot. Discovered every tree and every yard. Laid around the sail, across the sea, and discovered the land. He made history. He found the land. He found the south of us. His name is known Christopher Columbus. From the pilot manners, a pilot trained to Helicon at 189. Instead, I'd like to travel with manners like mine. Come travel with me, across the sea. You'll have adventures. You can come with me. And they all said, get out. We won't go with you. We all in school. The things we should do. So I left the school, after being impressed. I saw all small kids. They were out Helicon. Thank you.
Hello, this is only my second time reading as well. But luckily, I'm going to read two poems, and actually in my poetry class, I was put in the group of concise poets, so it will be short for you. So the first one, a couple of my friends have heard before, it's called Space Song, an Ode to Black Holes. You are, for the most part, a hypothesis. Powder sparks dust, a supernova after stars shine shatters. This surrounds you in blank space. You're visibly hidden, a name on a page, but the noise you make from mass charge spin beats on waves, curves so strong, space rains into you. You bang on the universe like head against wall. We feel it. We have not heard it. We would know by the stretch, squeeze of ears, the faintest sound of origins. You do not devour, your space song pulls us in. Rotation causes rhythm. You tease us, but please be there. Be something to explore, a possibility. Do you even exist, or attempt to be heard? And then the second one is called Above It All. Mount Timpanogos is said to be the outline of a faded woman's body, so distressed from hard love that she lay down to sleep forever. Mountains have peaks and valleys, so yes, her female shape complies. If it were me, I wouldn't lie down to fit form. I It stands like a redwood, tall with solid base, covered in expansive branches. My head in the canopy where leaves rustle in silk sunlight. I'd laugh because no folktale can find me here, can't make me spectacle too. I could become a different story, one not only defined by curves.
We really have a talented literary community. It's awesome to hear all your stuff. Our last two readers tonight will be Danielle Green and Mary Ellen Greenwood.
So we should thank Shannon for emceeing tonight because I don't know who's gonna thank her, so. I'm also gonna read you guys two poems. One of them is about a dead body, and one of them is about makeup. So one of them sounds promising, but you'll be surprised which one's more substantial. Okay, so this one's called Would I Touched a Corpse? On coming in contact with the tangible remains of death. I was 12 in a burgundy shirt, a black skirt I wore to church, my favorite woven sandals my mother said no to. The body was 72, bones riddled with cancer, a rotted giving tree could play with my hair. Her wrinkles flattened against the pull of gravity as she lay in a glossy satin dress, pink and a soft gray. Gray, what I imagine her lymph nodes must look like, bloodless pipes shrunken, exhausted. I breezed my fingers over the wrinkles on her throat, with my eyes squinted, feeling for a rattle. And this next one is called Pretty Girl, and it's on perceiving beauty and its implications. My closed smiles decorate scrapbook pages, framed in vanity, hidden for the same. Years pass, and I can still hug my ribcage, my skin a sandy beach in July. Before I decided to hide my teeth, my profile, toucan beak, lured the open, malicious smiles of clean-faced boys, rows of white teeth, sharp, hungry. Most days, it's one layer of creamy ivory, one thick coat of black on lashes, one wound bleeding fresh across lips. No sign of intellect, just taste. Weekend nights, he praises my natural beauty. My closed smile meets his, mumbling the need for sleep. I rise and stumble to the sink, run soap across my cheeks, stick my palms under the faucet, and let my fingers drip a dull beige. Thank you.
This is called Life Support. This I know. Lungs fill, expel gas. Heart fills, expels blood. But simple breaths, heartbeats, do they blip or hum or register in rhythm, synchronize with other pulses, other gasps? Is body breathing, heart quick pulsing, worth the taxing time? Once, twice I grew 2 heartbeats. From first flutter, stronger, louder, larger, racing, thumping hearts on flushed adrenaline. I grew lungs, too. First wailing breaths, barbaric yacht, infant, brought to light. Lungs that sing, cry, shout, and whisper words and not words. Echo past diminished day. Sleep dare not silence steady rhythms, rich air flow to blood, bright blood to veins. Days when breath is hard to catch and heartbeats hurt. And listen. Thank you.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Please fill out your forms and leave them back there by the coffee thing. And if you would mind, help us stack the chairs up against the wall and come back in 2 weeks to join us for Helicon West. Let's have one more round of applause for everybody.